Buddy Valastro's first panic attack occurred when he was 27. For millions of people, he hid it while grinning on camera. He operated 7 restaurants, 14 bakeries, and 75 vending machines by 2020. Then a strange mishap ruined his hand. His boys sawed through metal to save him while they watched him scream. He's worth more than $10 million now. However, his children are already splitting up the empire. One can earn $150,000 without using any flour. With 12 million views, another went viral. You will be shocked by his own true metamorphosis as well. In Hoboken, New Jersey, on March 3, 1977, Buddy Valastro was born. His parents were Italian immigrants who arrived in America with modest means but lofty aspirations. The family's modest apartment was located above Carlo's bakery. Both the burden of overdue debts and the aroma of freshly baked bread permeated the air. When he was too exhausted to walk home from his 16-hour shifts, his father, Bartolo Sr., would occasionally sleep on flour sacks. In an attempt to determine if she could pay for the electric bill and milk, his mother, Mary, remained up late counting pennies. They subsisted on whatever that didn't sell in the store, including day-old pastries. Buddy shared clothing with his 4 elder sisters and slept on the couch in the living room. Despite the challenges he faced, he learned the importance of perseverance and thankfulness. At the age of 11, Buddy's life took a drastic turn. He learned that his father had lung cancer. To keep the bakery operating, the family needed assistance. Buddy so went to work while the other children played video games or baseball. After school, he washed floors and cleaned mixing bowls. He piped roses with buttercream till his hands ached. He began his days at 6 a.m. It concluded long after dark. Even though he only made $20 each week, he learned how to handle orders and make pastries. He could produce $800 wedding cakes by the time he was 13. In addition to paying the mortgage, that money helped keep the lights on. His future achievements will be based on those sacrifices. However, he was unprepared for what transpired in 1994. His father died of a fatal heart attack when he was just 17. Although the sadness was intense, the pressure was even more intense. The bakery was having financial difficulties. The sales were declining. Debt was increasing. Buddy stepped in without a second of hesitation. He was not trained or experienced in business. And no time for slow problem solving. He left high school, a choice that plagued him for years. He woke up at 4 a.m. while his friends went to college. For payroll management and bread baking. The doubt never left his mind, his days were long, and his back ached all the time. Was this the best course of action? What had he sacrificed? As he struggled to keep the family afloat while stranded in a kitchen, he watched his friends construct their futures. The tension. It was intolerable. He was not merely managing a company. He was his mother's and his 4 sisters' sole provider. Panic episodes were a part of his life. He slept poorly. He wept while no one was around. He never gave up, even if there were times when it seemed like too much. Buddy suffered a series of setbacks from 1998 to 2003 that had a significant negative emotional and financial impact. His attempt to create an elegant Italian wedding cake using imported Belgian chocolate, which cost $800, was one of the worst. A few hours prior to the wedding, the cake fell apart. The occasion was saved by the family working through the night and spending an additional $1,200 on ingredients. Another time, Buddy was testing a new technique and overbaked 200 cannoli shells. That one error cost $400. Nearly a whole week of revenue for the beleaguered bakery. These mishaps were heartbreaking, but they also made Buddy more cautious and accurate. Every risk, no matter how expensive, was a step towards becoming an expert in his field, and every error taught him something. The bakery was barely surviving in those early years, from 1994 to 2005. Revenue averaged about $8,000 per month. Just enough to buy supplies, rent, and utilities. It was as low as $150 on some winter days. And that was all. Only 40 to 50 regular patrons, primarily older Italian Americans, kept the lights on. The actual bakery was small, just 800 square feet. 6 clients might be accommodated there at once. A few of the pieces of equipment were so outdated that they were from the 1960s. The family lost hundreds when display cases broke and ruined the pastries. The funds for replacements were non-existent. Instead, they made the necessary repairs with household tools. Buddy frequently put in 16-hour days 7 days a week, for less than the minimum pay. It was a harsh, hard life, but it was necessary to keep the bakery open. It remained a family affair throughout. Buddy was not alone in this. The money was handled by his mother, Mary. She argued over every dollar and maintained a strict hold on the budget despite lacking a business degree. All four of his sisters were involved. Grace was the friendly, cheery face that welcomed clients. Madelina was a drill sergeant when it came to inventory. Mary worked on the decor. Lisa was in charge of suppliers. They were still a family despite their frequent arguments about finances, schedules, and relationships. And for some reason, the tension and love worked. It seemed chaotic at the moment, but it would ultimately be the ideal setting for reality television. They were made famous by their genuine fights, hugs, business conversations, and family dramas that resulted from their personalities clashing in authentic ways. But there was a low period before the stardom. From 2001 through 2004, everything nearly collapsed. As large commercial bakeries began to operate, they lowered their prices and extended their hours of operation. There was one that opened 3 blocks away in 2002. They used automated machinery and bulk purchasing to sell comparable Italian pastries at a 30% discount. Nearly 40% of Carlo's Bakery's clientele vanished overnight. The monthly income dropped to $4,800. The bills couldn't even be paid with that. Started thinking about giving up. He tried to sell the company. Some purchasers made offers in the range of $45,000 to $60,000. The tension was too much. Buddy lost 25 pounds after quitting eating healthily. He was unable to sleep. His mother needed to earn more cash, so she took a job at a nearby grocery shop. His sisters began looking for work elsewhere. The pivotal moment then arrived. Late in 2003, the family gathered together to have a difficult talk. They decided to try again in a year. If nothing changed, they would permanently go. Everything changed after that choice. To make it work, they gave it their all. And things began to improve gradually. Valastro joined the Food Network Challenge in 2004. Chefs competed fiercely, showcasing their talents from all around the United States. Buddy's purpose was not limited to baking. His charm and one-liners caught everyone off guard. Despite winning the $10,000 prize, something more significant occurred. He discovered he had a knack for television. His path from a small Hoboken baker to a national celebrity began with that one victory. Although he didn't consider himself suitable for television, producers recognized something in him. His brand was created by combining his sense of humor, self-assurance, and baking skills. Buddy returned to the Food Network Challenge in 2007, this time to mentor others rather than compete. It went beyond simply offering guidance. Quietly, he was learning how TV operated. He focused on audience responses, plots, and camera angles. In the background, he was honing the abilities he would require for his own program. He was getting ready for something greater while managing Carlo's Bakery. He was doing more than just cake decorating. He was establishing himself in the television industry, one guest appearance at a time. And then the greatest surprise of all. Buddy repeatedly refused when producers first expressed interest in making his bakery the subject of a reality show. He was worried that the art of cake decorating would be ruined by photography. The producers persisted even though he didn't want his art to be dismissed. At last, he conceded. TLC's Cake Boss made its debut in April 2009. It was an immediate hit. In addition to cakes, it depicted his family, their conflicts, their cooperation, and the mayhem. Buddy was no longer just a baker all of a sudden. He was the boss of the cake. The premiere was a game changer. The show's popularity skyrocketed. The bakery in Hoboken was overrun with tourists. People waited in line all around the block to get a look. Although Carlo's Bakery gained popularity, there was pressure to live up to the hype. Managing the business, interacting with followers, and continuously filming proved extremely difficult. Buddy was nevertheless able to expand his bakery beyond his wildest dreams. The speed at which everything transpired was what startled him the most. His little bakery became well known across the country in a matter of weeks. During its 11-year run from 2009 to 2020, Cake Boss was a household name. Although it made Buddy famous, it also deprived him of his solitude. Everything about his life was made public. On television, his sisters and mother, Mary, were well known. Fans showered the bakery with cards, artwork, and flowers in 2017, the year his mother died. They grieved as if she were family, even though they had never met her. It was almost impossible to grieve alone because of how intimate the show had become. Notoriety also brought with it additional issues. At his house, fans arrived. Security became a serious issue. Being a small-town baker was no longer enjoyable for Buddy. Hoboken had evolved. His life was different. The bakery was no longer a small, quiet store on the corner. It was an international draw. By the year 2010, the throngs were too much for the original Washington Street store to handle. There were plenty of tourists. The street corner was also given a new name by the city, Carlos Bakery Way. It was a privilege, but it also led to tension and traffic bottlenecks. It was never intended for the bakery to serve so many people. Buddy required a larger area. In November 2010, he inaugurated a 30,000 square foot building at Jersey City's Lackawanna Center. It was huge. It had offices, shipping stations, ovens, and everything else. Millions were spent. He was now able to ship cakes all over the country. A full-fledged food business had grown out of the little family bakery. Don't stop there, Buddy. He desired further growth. There used to be about 20 Carlos Bakery outlets spread throughout several states, including New York, Florida, Texas, and even Nevada. In Las Vegas, he opened Buddy V's Ristorante in 2013. Buddy's Jersey Eats, The Boss Cafe, and Pizza Cake followed. He had evolved into a culinary empire builder rather than only a baker. In 2014, he also started a catering company. He also unveiled cake ATMs in 2019. Yes, devices that sold cake pieces. You may find them in retail malls in the US and Canada, as well as in cities like Las Vegas and Toronto. They were 30 in some cities. People adored the ease of use. It was one more way Buddy maintained his lead. In November 2010, he also published a book in the same year. It was titled Mia Familia's Cake Boss Stories and Recipes. It was released precisely a century after the bakery's initial opening in 1910. With 37 recipes ranging from cannoli to red velvet cake, the book was 272 pages long. However, it was more than just food. It revealed the tale of his mother, father, sisters, and how they collaborated to make a dream a lifetime endeavor. It was listed as a New York Times bestseller. Its ability to combine baking knowledge with touching tales won accolades from critics. It was more than a cookbook. Family, tradition, and hustling were all honored. Buddy was listed as one of Hudson County's 50 most influential persons by the Hudson Reporter in 2012. His influence was that great just 3 years after Cake Boss started. Tourism in Hoboken skyrocketed. Because of the Washington Street Bakery, local companies expanded. Buddy Valastro had expanded his business beyond cake decorating. At the Venetian Hotel in Las Vegas, he opened Buddy V's Ristorante in October 2013. He was perceived as a mere TV baker, but this action disproved that notion. Built for more than $2 million, the restaurant was located across from his well-known Carlos Bake Shop. He wasn't by himself. Leading figures in the field, such as Chef Kim Cantinowala and Elizabeth Blau, collaborated with him. The menu item? Family recipes only. Valastro gravy on Sundays. The 7-layer lasagna from Nana. Large servings. Strong flavors. The restaurant had been open for 10 years by 2024. A rare sight on the Strip, where 3 years is the average for restaurant closures. It was flourishing, not simply surviving. With 4.3 stars from more than 3,290 reviews, we are ranked number 1 and have won 5 out of the city's 5,000 eateries. Additionally, the Las Vegas Review-Journal awarded it a gold winner. He continued at the same pace a year later. His company, Buddy V's Events and Catering, was founded in 2014. Unlike most, he didn't wait. He made the bold decision after receiving numerous inquiries about food and event planning. One of the busiest planners in the industry, Jeffrey Spivak, was his partner. They combined to capitalize on the $11 billion annual revenue generated by the Las Vegas event industry. Valastro delivered the meal. The logistics were brought by Spivak. Using Buddy's famous Italian recipes, they provided upscale catering services. Buddy swiftly established himself in a field where well-known chefs may command up to $2,000 per person. With restaurants and events, he now had 2 sources of income that complemented one another. They were both booming. Something unexpected then appeared. Valastro was appointed the spokesperson for Whole Earth Sweetener Company in 2016. Yes, sweeteners with no calories were being promoted by the Sugar King. The name of the campaign was Rethink Sweet. Defied all the preconceived notions about him, but he accepted it and developed new, calorie-conscious foods that were nevertheless delicious. The cooperation probably paid well. Celebrity endorsements such as these frequently generate between $500,000 and $5 million annually. During the holidays, he introduced festive recipes and expanded his clientele. The message was unambiguous. He could change. And in order to remain relevant, he didn't hesitate to take chances. Using dog treats, he shocked everyone once more in 2018. But not any old snacks. Italian-style pet goodies created in collaboration with the Pound Bakery. Pizza bites, meatballs for dogs, and chicken parmesan. They were baked in the USA, made without wheat, maize, or soy, and were intended for dogs with sensitive stomachs. In addition to having significant manufacturing qualifications, the Pound Bakery has more than 20 years of expertise. The best buddy of man was given access to Valastro's Italian brand. The annual value of the pet treat market was more than $7 billion at the time. With a product that no other well-known chef had even thought of, he went into that market. Cake ATMs then appeared. Indeed, ATMs are a cake. In Toronto, he introduced chilled vending machines in November 2019. These machines weren't little ones. They had enough room for 160 slices and 8 complete cakes. Locations in downtown Toronto's congested walkway system were added to them every day. Red velvet, chocolate fudge, rainbow cake, it was everything there. The cost of each slice was $8.99. Cakes in whole, up to $44.99. The cost of most desserts from convenience stores is doubled or tripled. People did, however, pay for it. Furthermore, these machines weren't transient. In the appropriate place, these were long-term investments that might generate over $500,000 annually. He made a daring retail decision by bringing his bakery to customers around the clock without having to open additional locations. He was managing an empire in television at the time of all of this. Cake Boss was just the beginning, but he continued. 2010 saw the debut of Next Great Baker by him. Within a few years, Kitchen Boss followed by Buddy's Bakery Rescue, Bake You Rich, and Bakery Boss. He was managing Carlo's Bakery, running new enterprises, and balancing 6 shows by 2013. He continued to bake while traveling around the nation and filming continuously. It was an absurd amount of labor. Long workdays, no weekends, and little sleep. Not only was it difficult. That was risky. Bakery Boss was particularly difficult. His job was to keep ailing family bakeries afloat. This required him to face their emotional baggage while also remembering his own. Buddy vs. Duff intensified the conflict in 2019. Cake contests against Duff Goldman, another pastry superstar. The pressure was extreme, and these cakes were not simply enormous, they were architectural marvels. His next project was Buddy vs. Christmas in 2020. Unfortunately, calamity struck that same year. 3 times a bowling alley pinsetter's metal rod jammed through his hand. His adolescent sons had to release him. There were several surgeries that followed. He continued to film, nevertheless. Despite the fact that his dominant hand was hardly working, he continued working. Every new show had to have more drama, spectacle, and larger cakes. He had to repeatedly surpass himself. Lifting layers, slicing sugar, and standing for hours. He couldn't slow down even though his body was failing. The Cake Boss was expected by the crowd, and he delivered at a great personal expense. He was exhausted from lack of sleep, lack of pauses, and the incessant drive to innovate. He did a good job, but the damage was visible behind the camera. It was his first panic episode at age 27. He visited the ER since it struck so strongly. Deadline pressure, stress, and the need to constantly be flawless. Everything went haywire. He said nothing about it for years. While grinning on video, no one realized he was struggling with anxiety. In one Bakery Boss episode, he assisted another baker who was having a panic attack. He had experienced it firsthand, but viewers were unaware of this. He was very aware of the sensation. He had persevered through panic episodes, surgeries, and breakdowns in order to maintain the brand. Buddy Valastro assumed that the evening would be spent unwinding with his family. On September 20, 2020, it was. He was at his estate in New Jersey, enjoying the private bowling alley. It was all normal until it wasn't. Suddenly, the pin-setting machine jammed. But it didn't just stop, it got crazy. The machine turned into a trap rather than merely malfunctioning. Within seconds, Buddy's right hand was drawn into the device. A rod of thick metal blasted through it. It happened 3 times, not once or twice. The ache came suddenly. The rod passed completely through his hand. He couldn't move. They had him pinned. He experienced waves of pain with each slight movement. His palm, his fingers, and even the back of his hand. It was all struck. It was more than just discomfort. Panic set in. The blood spurted out. The machine was unyielding. Next came the unimaginable. His adolescent boys had to come to his rescue. To obtain an electric saw, they sprinted. It was necessary for these sons to cut through the rod that was imprisoning their father. Think about that. Screaming in the background, hands shaking. It could have been worse with a single misstep. They continued, nevertheless. They carried on. As their father let out a painful cry, they sliced through metal. Somehow, he was set free. They hurried Buddy to the hospital. Physicians didn't mince words. Most likely, the rod had ripped through nerves, muscles, and tendons. It was suggested that he might never bake again. Buddy saw that as more than a job. That was his life. His hands were his future, his art, and his tools. And they may be ruined now. One by one, the operation started right away, and by 2023, there would be 5 total, with a 6th still to come. They were all cruel. They all chipped away at the harm. His rehabilitation lasted for months. All of this he had to unlearn. The techniques for gripping, squeezing, and decorating a cake once more. He was able to regain 95% of his hand strength by 2023. Though it came with suffering, annoyance, and never-ending labor, it was truly a miracle. He then took a risk in 2023, right as he was getting back into his groove. After leaving TLC, he debuted Cake Dynasty and Legends of the Fork, 2 new shows on A&E. November 11th was the premiere of both. It was a complete makeover, not simply a TV comeback. He changed the subject from cake tricks to true stories. His family was tracked by one episode while they learned how to manage the company. The other led him around the United States to discover the secrets of renowned eateries. Buddy revealed a new side in Cake Dynasty, becoming more of a mentor than a celebrity. At the age of 19, his son Buddy Jr. was considering foregoing college to work for the company. At her brother's confirmation, his 20-year-old daughter Sophia stunned everyone with a beautiful dessert. Buddy pondered. Perhaps she was Carlo's Bakery's future. It was no longer a modest business. They had 14 bakeries operating, 75 vending machines, and 7 eateries. This was an empire that required a new generation to lead it. Buddy was given a new role in Legends of the Fork in the meantime. The famous baker was no longer him. He turned into a storyteller. He spoke with chefs, visited historic eateries, and discussed the cultural background of American cuisine. Every location had a tale, and Buddy paid attention. He demonstrated what the food signified, not just what it looked like. It was successful. Buddy received a Daytime Emmy for Outstanding Culinary Host in June 2024, less than a year after the show's debut. He had never won an Emmy before. He defeated some of the industry's most well-known figures. He described it on Instagram as a dream come true. For someone who nearly lost both his hand and his career, it was the ultimate triumph. However, Buddy's tale transcends the stage and the cinema. Despite everything, he and Lisa, who were married in 2001, remained together. They are parents of Sophia, Carlo, Marco, and Buddy Jr. Behind the scenes, Lisa kept the turmoil under control. Particularly throughout the years of injury and recuperation, she kept the family grounded. They moved into a mansion in Montville in 2014, which cost $2.5 million. Everything was there, including a home theater, a gourmet kitchen, and even a studio for cake decorating. Even though the annual property taxes alone were more than $35,000, they were worthwhile. By 2025, the house had grown to be worth over $3.2 million, and the following generation is already beginning to leave their mark. In just 2 years after starting a marketing consultancy, Sophia, now 22, earned $150,000 for her clients. A bakery concept with a sports theme is being developed by Buddy Jr. 21. The 18-year-old Marco received 12 million views in 3 days when he recreated one of his father's most famous cakes. At 14, Carlo, the youngest, is already enrolled in weekend cooking classes in New York. Every child is contributing to the family business in a different way, but he has never ceased helping out. Over $2.3 million has been donated by him in the form of cakes, time, and money since 2010. More than 100 of his wishes have been fulfilled by the Make-A-Wish Foundation. In 2018, for a young patient's 47th surgery, he constructed a 500-pound cake model of a children's hospital, which was one of the most heartwarming moments. For Special Olympics events, he even provided funding for a mobile bakery truck that provided competitors with job training and goodies. His foundation awarded $180,000 in scholarships to young people studying culinary arts in 2023 alone.